I was reading your bio, and something that stuck out. I mean, there's a lot of f***ed up stuff.
Yeah.
But the most screwy thing is that as a kid, your parents sent you to a retarded kids camp.
That's right.
And you're not retarded.
I'm not retarded. No, I'm not. Unless I'm really borderline, like I'm.
We were reading the Babe Ruth book.
Yeah.
And Babe Ruth's parents were so horrible. They had a bunch of kids. They didn't like Babe Ruth.
Right.
And they just dropped him off at an orphanage.
Yeah, wow.
And while you...
It's like what the Red Sox did, sort of, same thing.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm not sure that what happened to you is that much worse. Your parents would send you to a retarded kids camp.
Yeah.
Were they associated with the camp?
No, no.
What was their rationale for doing that?
Well, they didn't decide to do that. It was a mistake.
Oh, it was a mistake.
It was. Because
they didn't realize you were smart?
No, they didn't know the camp was retarded.
Oh, I see.
How long did it take them to find out?
Well, this camp, I think my teacher actually recommended it, so maybe the teacher thought I was retarded. I don't know. I actually went back and looked into it. Like, I called a counselor who I really liked, and I asked him what happened. And because I just showed up there, and I looked around, and I'm like, I guess I'm retarded, from looking around.
I guess I'm going to be drooling.
This is how they kids with Down syndrome. And,
there were a lot of kids.
Wow.
Well, kids also that had cerebral palsy, kids in wheelchairs. Some kids just had emotional problems. Like, some kids were just
Maybe you had an emotional problem.
Well, I think I'm 38. Somebody would have told me by now what.
Could it have been
being polite all these years?
If you're smart about it, though, in a way, couldn't you be king of the camp?
Right.
Weren't you like a Superman in a sense? Here you weren't retarded. I know when I went to camp, I couldn't play softball. I was not good at anything. You must have been the most popular and the biggest star of the camp.
Not really.
At a retarded camp, you were not the most popular.
I was kind of a faggot at a retarded camp.
Really? Yeah. Why is that? Because you stuck out?
Sorry, George, I don't mean
That's the N-word.
For
George.
Louie. We've been over that.
I shook a finger at him.
Yeah.
Do you have a retarded girlfriend?
What? Did I? I thought you meant now. Like, I can't get off without it being a retarded.
That would have been great if you had one now.
Yeah. You're on HBO. I think you could do better than a retarded.
Sure, yeah.
Were there attractive girls at the retarded camp?
I think I remember there being some pretty nice-looking girls, yeah.
Right. Did you manage to get any?
Not the Down syndrome chicks. They weren't all that hot. I don't find that hot.
What is it? The big forehead, the flat nose?
I guess so,
what is it? The drool?
You mean what turns me off?
Yeah, but about the Down syndrome.
What's the matter? You like Asian girls?
I don't know. I was in 3rd grade, so I was only starting to understand everything.
So you were ostracized.
But I went for 3 years, though.
You went for 3 years? You went back?
That's the problem. You tell your parents that most of the kids at the camp are a little slow, and they send you back.
Well, the weird thing about it is my dad sent me because he thought I was a little soft, like I wasn't tough. So he thought he sent me to camp, because camp is where, you get the shit beat out of you, people pee on you, and you jerk off on a cracker, and all those things that are supposed to make you a man.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, like eventually you end up in Abu Ghraib doing it to other people. Like, that's supposed to make you an American male.
Did you ever ask, did anyone ask you while you were there? Did the counselor say, you shouldn't be here?
Well, I remember this one counselor was always sort of took me aside and hung out with me. And I called him, though, recently, because I wanted to find out, did this happen to me?
Right.
And he said, well, that camp was supposed to be a mainstreaming camp where we had normal kids and retarded kids, but nobody sent their normal kids.
Right, you were the only
I was the only
normal
one
kid.
Stupid parents sent me.
Did you find yourself dumbing it down to try to fit in? Did you ever drool or...
Well, here's the thing about retarded kids is that they're dangerous. They're fucked up people. And, like, one kid used to throw a rock at me every time he saw me.
Right.
And so I had to cope with that this kid, every time I saw him, he'd throw a rock at me, and I had to eventually tell him. I just told him to cut it out.
Do you think he was jealous of your intelligence?
No, they don't think it out. They're retarded. They're not like...
He didn't even probably know he could kill you with the rock.
No, he had no idea. Yeah. And that's what a counselor told me. I went to a counselor, and he said, well, we can't give you like an escort everywhere, so you have to confront them.
What was the thinking
I went up to this
behind putting normal people and the retarded children together?
They didn't want to segregate them.
He was the only normal one there.
I'm the only one.
So
it was like a whole retarded community and me trying to get used to me.
Did you ever kiss a retarded girl? By the time, you started in 3rd grade, so you finished up in 6th grade. That's when guys start kissing and maybe touching some titties.
Right.
Did you ever put the moves on a retarded girl?
No. I didn't kiss a girl till I was like, till I was a freshman in high school or something like that.
Sounds like the George Takei story.
No, I just had bad luck with girls. I was horny constantly. I wanted to fuck all of them.
I'm reading so many...
I would have had sex with a retarded girl back then, easily.
You're not kidding, because I was reading... But wait a second. You've had horrible, horrible experiences, including as a young person, not only going to retarded camp...
Yeah. Well, that wasn't horrible, by the way. I'm actually grateful for that experience.
And were you molested as a child, or there was a child molester in your neighborhood?
There was a guy...
I mean, it sounds terrible.
I'm forgetting the stories I told your guy. Fuck.
I mean, these are terrible stories.
There was a dude who lived in my neighborhood who just drove around picking up young boys, and we all knew about him. And his name was Jean-Baptiste, and he drove around in a Pinto.
Yes.
And he was like sort of speckled-faced French black guy, like Dennis Johnson from, remember him? Celtics.
Yep.
John the Baptist.
Yeah, John the Baptiste. And he would pull up in his Pinto, and he'd say to teenage boys like myself at the time, "You look very athletic and very strong. I like your look. You look like a fine man. Would you like to come with me? I'll buy you lunch." And a few of my friends went with him and got lunch, and he'd buy you a nice lunch. He had money, I guess, even though he drove a Pinto. He put all his money into
the food.
Into his boys.
Exactly. And then at some point, he'd put his hand on your knee, and you'd go, "Hey, what is this?" "Oh, I want to be friends with you," whatever. So.
Nothing's free in life.
He was all over town, though, and everybody knew about him.
So it sounds
he
like
never touched me, though. I didn't get any lunches.
You were like a confused kid growing up. I mean, did you get into the whole drug thing, too? And I
took a lot of drugs when I was in junior high school. I dropped a lot of acid and smoked pot. And
And look at the success you are today.
I was going to say, this is the worst advertisement. You've done all this stuff, and look at how well you're doing.
That's right.
Let me tell you something. I mean, what this says is that you can do drugs, get blowjobs from whores and stuff, and grow up and get paid next to nothing on HBO.
That's right.
That's pretty impressive. Then I got to watch it. Yes.
I just wanted to ask about one other thing that I saw in the notes that I thought was interesting. You had some sort of odd sexual encounter when you were like 12. You used to sit on a guy's back while he fucked the floor?
That sounds so much worse than it is. I used to sit on some guy's back.
George, maybe you read George's notes. George, you ever sit on a guy's back?
No, when I was, when I first jerked off, I guess I was, I don't know, when do you start that shit? 6th, 7th grade?
So like 12, 13?
Yeah, more like 10 or 11 or something like that. Right. I had jerked off for the first time, and I mean, I'd been rubbing my penis for years, but something finally came out, and, so that changed everything. But my friend, I was about to say his name, a friend of mine had done it too for the first time. So we're comparing technical notes, and he said that he would lay on his stomach and press his penis into his hand really hard. Right. Which, by the way, there's a whole website that I found recently dedicated to how that's really dangerous and can really hurt you.
Hurt your penis?
Yeah. So anyway, he would do that, but he said the more pressure he felt, the better, and he tried putting like a dictionary on his back and stuff. Right. So he asked me if I would sit on his ass
while he jerked off.
While he pressed his dick, so there would be more pressure. Wow. And so fuck it, I'm his buddy. So
when your parents sent you to retarded they had it.
One of the things that your character is dealing with in your show, Lucky Louie, is, he's trying to make friends with his neighbors next door. They're an African-American couple. He wants to be their friends. He's also very self-conscious of the fact that they're black and he's white. So in wanting to do the right thing, he often does the wrong thing. Can you talk a little bit about trying to write that relationship and what issues you're trying to raise there?
Well, that comes out of a lot of reality in my life because it's just my generation was segregated from black people. And I grew up near Boston, which is a very segregated city. And we actually had black kids that were bussed in. I mean, it sounds like we had them bussed in for our amusement. It was fun. They were, let's get some black kids bussed in here. That's what this place needs. No, Boston had all this busing, and there was these kids that were from other neighborhoods that were black. There was 0 black people living where I lived, and they were in our school. And I used to just awkwardly sit at their table because I wanted to know them. I actually, most people don't believe me, but I'm half Mexican, and I came to this country from Mexico. I was born here and left before I was 1. And so I came here not speaking English, and I had the experience of coming here like as an immigrant, which is weird because I'm very white and Irish looking. But anyway,
but you're also part Jewish.
Yeah, my dad's dad was Jewish, and it's a mess, Terry. I'm a dog. I'm a mutt. But that's the way, It's great. But so when I started going to elementary school and junior high school and seeing these black kids I just wanted to know them, and I thought it was awkward to me that they were this other people, you know. So I used to just sit at their table at the cafeteria during lunch and just sit there smiling and hoping they'd be my friend. They would just look at me like, what's your problem? And eventually I did make friends with a lot of them, but it had to be done awkwardly. The races are still segregated amazingly, and the only way to actually come across and make a contact is to do it self-consciously, kind of racistly, you know, because you're really saying I want to know you because you're black. There's just no other way to do it, and it is important to me that my daughter know black people. I want her to know everybody. I don't want her to have this, so I have to make this dumb effort. So that story became really important. And actually,
the thing is, you know, you're talking about these working class type of sitcoms that you really related to, and not relating to the more, you know, middle class or upper middle class ones. Though Cheers was officially working class,
officially,
but exactly. Officially, yeah. But you know, your character Louie is on the sitcom is a part-time mechanic. Your parents met at Harvard, from what I read. So, if they met at Harvard and were going to school there,
well, my mother was from Michigan, and she went to school in Michigan, but she went to Harvard for her summer school one year, and that's where she met my dad, who was a Mexican migrant student, I guess you'd call it. He was going to take some grad school classes there. They're not like the two well-raised rich people that went to Harvard. My mother sort of saved and bought herself some classes at Harvard, and my dad came up to try to finish his schooling there. But my dad when I was growing up, he was still trying to pursue a degree, I think, and my mom raised us. She taught school part-time, and she worked as a computer programmer, which she still does today. And so she really supported us. And actually, my parents were divorced when I was about 10 years old. So I was really raised by my mom, single mom with 4 kids in a half of a house. We had rented the lower half of a 2-family house, cramped little place. And so we didn't have anything. When I was growing up, we had no money. And a memory that my sisters and I always laugh about is saying to my mother, Mom, I'm hungry. And she'd say, well, make yourself a bologna sandwich. And I'd go, well, I don't like bologna. And she'd say, well, then you're not that hungry. So that's how we were raised. And notice that I'm making myself the bologna sandwich. My mother never made us any. We had a microwave, which meant we made our own meals. And it was just we fended for ourselves. She worked all day. She had a huge amount of work to do raising us. So everyone had to sort of pitch in. And so I watched her go through a lot of times where there wasn't a lot. And she educated herself. She went and got herself a computer experience and started to do that.
But when you were getting raised by your mother, and she had 4 kids and worked all the time, were you sympathetic to that? Were you like angry with her because she wasn't like cooking you dinner, or were you sympathetic and therefore helpful to the fact, to her because you saw that how difficult it was for her?
I did, absolutely, and I always thought of that. She never made us feel guilty or anything, but I always felt like we all felt like we were in the effort together. We'd all go shopping together, and my mother she was very kind. So like if you got to go shopping with her, it was great because she would always she'd get a bag of cookies and open them while we shopped. We'd eat them while we shopped, and so I liked her. I liked my mom. She's nice. So, yes, I did sympathize with her. And actually, I didn't go to college because she had 3 girls in college when I graduated high school. And she was really struggling mightily because Ronald Reagan was president and he didn't care what you were coping with. You just had to pay on your own. So when I graduated high school, I was such a lousy student that I thought I can't just go like some of my friends that had more money were just going to college just to go drink and just because that's what you do next. But I really couldn't see doing that because I knew she couldn't really afford it. So I just passed and didn't go continue school because I didn't want to cost her the money. I guess that was the one thing I did that was the most sympathetic to my mom.
How did you end up in comedy?